September, wow. Hello there. The September 28th, 2022 meeting of the Human Services Committee will now come to order. Will the clerk please read the roll call?
Mr. Blankley. Here. Mr. Blankley is present. Mr. Brew. Here. Mr. Brew is present. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman. Ms. Delvecchio Hoffman is present. Mr. Dondorfer. Mr. Dondorfer is present. Ms. Hasman. Ms. Hasman is present. Mr. Keller. Mr. Keller is present. Chairman Milne.
Here.
Chairman Milne is present. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is present. Mr. Udelson. Mr. Udelson is present.
And Mr. Clerk, is there anyone signed up for the public forum?
There is not.
And is there anyone present who has not signed up to speak who would like to address the committee at this time? Seeing none. Approval of minutes. Next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. You have the August 23, 2022 minutes before you, and they will stand approved unless the clerk is notified of any changes by the end of the day. New business. Next item on the agenda is new business. Mr. Clerk.
Referral 22-0289, acceptance of a grant from New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services for the 2022-2023 Aid to Crime Laboratories Grant Program, Office of the Medical Examiner.
Moved by Legislator Smith, seconded by Legislator Dondorfer. Is there any discussion? Legislator Smith.
The chair to the administration, will this grant truly reduce the backlog we're seeing?
Through the chair, this grant is designed to help mitigate backlogs by preventing instrument downtime from affecting them.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, we've received a lot of outreach from families waiting over a year for toxicology reports, death certificates, and more. This jeopardizes life insurances, prolongs the grief of our families, and more negative effects. Does the administration feel the current times for receiving such important documents is acceptable?
Through the chair, through the chair, the toxicology laboratory is not involved in the current delays. They have to do with a long-standing lack of medical examiners in the office that prevented the final autopsy reports from being completed and updated. So with respect, I'm not the appropriate person to be addressing that question.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, do you know how long the wait time is compared to other counties when it comes to issuing the death certificates?
Through the chair, again, death certificates are not the purview of the toxicology laboratory. However, I can tell you that it depends wildly on the nature of the case. So certain cases, they can be issued very quickly because there's a clear cause, but many cases need to be pended for various further investigation, not just toxicology, but histology, sometimes anthropology, and disease testing as well. So not just toxicology, but it varies a lot depending on the nature of the case and how much information the doctors feel is necessary in order to make their determination.
I appreciate that. Through the chair to the administration, in a previous meeting with Dr. Mendoza, he mentioned that some of the wait times are due to the large volume of overdoses with opioids in our community. Does the administration plan on using any of the opioid settlement funds to put into the toxicology lab?
Through the chair, this entire grant is for the toxicology laboratory. So it supports one of our staff members and again, our service contracts.
Thank you. Through this chair to the administration, just repeating the question, I'm asking the administration, do you plan on using any of the opioid funds that through the settlement that we're receiving from Monroe County to our toxicology lab to help with the overdose?
Through the chair, I would have to refer that question to finance. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, we have not made determinations on where those dollars are going to be spent yet.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, just a statement. I think this would be a great resource to put those funds towards. We do know that there is a backup sometimes in the toxicology lab, and I would love to see some funds head that way to help assist our employees in that department. Thank you. Yield the floor.
Are there any other questions or comments? Legislator Dondorfer.
Thank you. Through you to the, I guess maybe the administration or whoever, just a point of clarification. You made a mention when Legislator Smith asked about the backlog, and you had made mention that it's due to a lack of medical examiners. Is there no backlog in toxicology? Are the toxicology reports getting sent to the MEs, and the MEs just are so backlogged that they don't have time to issue the proper paperwork? Is that where the issue is, or do you also have a backlog in the in the actual testing and toxicology?
Through the chair, the amount of time that the toxicology laboratory takes also varies based on the nature of the case. At this time, the delay that is being observed and that you've been hearing about is more on the medical examiner side. However, when they are fully staffed and fully functional, the delay does tend to fall more in the toxicology side of it, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I yield the floor.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just add one thing into the legislator's question through you. One thing we've talked about for a long time, there have been 4 positions in the medical examiner's office that have been budgeted. And we traditionally have not had success filling all 4 of those spots. That has changed recently. We had a 4th person that was hired into the office, and we had 1 employee there who was out quite a bit due to medical issues. So again, it's caseload, but it's also extenuating circumstances.
Thank you. And are there any other comments or questions from the committee? Legislator Brew?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Millen. Through the chairman to the administration, I think myself, as well as a number of my legislators, there's always a reoccurring question, inquiry from one of our constituents on, annually 1 or 2 at least, as far as it is in regard to the delay of getting test reports out of the toxicology lab or the medical examiner's office. I'm still a little bit confused as to how. So let's just take a typical questionable overdose, okay, and just say it's maybe an opioid or fentanyl. And I realize that what I just heard, it depends on the type of tests that we're looking at, the type of case that it is. So I would like to understand the flow of things and how they occur, who they go through, whether it be the medical examiner, the toxicology labs, who touches it, what are the steps? So I'm just asking if the administration could provide to us so that we would have a better understanding of what the flow is when these cases come in, from the time they come in, who do they go through? And and finally, when they are resolved, what's the process of getting that information out? Okay, does it sit within the medical examiner's office? I would just like a more thorough understanding of how the process works so that we can understand better when we're talking about it. Because to me, right now, it just seems like it's like undefined space that enters into, and we hear that, well, we're shortage of medical examiners, this, that, and the other thing. So just for clarity of my own purposes, and I think for some of my fellow legislators here, we would just like to know, what what a flow chart would typically look like of what's affecting all of these delays.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, yes, we would be glad to provide that. If it doesn't exist, I'm sure that's something we could put together relatively easily.
Thank you.
And I would ask again if there are any other questions or comments on this item. Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And any opposed, the same? Seeing none.
Referral 22-0290, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Office of Children and Family Services for the Safe Harbor Initiative for 2022.
A motion by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Keller. Are there any comments or questions on this item? Hearing legislator Dondorfer.
How often is a program like this utilized?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the program is probably utilized on a daily basis, depending on the intake of the youth that are being served through the Center for Youth.
Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, the same? See none.
Referral 22-0291, acceptance of a grant from the New York State Office for the Aging and authorize a contract with Lifespan of Greater Rochester for the New York State Elder Abuse Education and Outreach Program.
A motion by legislator Keller, seconded by legislator Brew. Are there any questions on this item? See none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, the same? Carried.
Referral 22-0303, authorize intermunicipal agreements with municipalities for Rochester Monroe County Youth Bureau programs in 2022.
I have a motion by legislator Brew, seconded by legislator Smith. Are there any discussion or questions on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, the same? Carried.
Referral 22-0304, authorize contracts with not-for-profit agencies for Rochester Monroe County Youth Bureau programs in 2022.
A motion by legislator Smith, seconded by legislator Dondorfer. Are there any questions or comments on this? Legislator Smith? Sorry, Miss.
Through the chair to the administration, are there any major differences between last year's and previous year's selection compared to this year's list?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, as I look at the list, we have, it appears 5 new respondents. So we'll be adding, we selected all of 5 new respondents. So we got 12 responded to the RFP and we selected 11.
Perfect. Thank you.
Legislator Udelson.
Follow up on my colleague's question as far as the groups that are represented. It appears that the total amount awarded is significantly.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Those allocations are not determined through Monroe County. Those allocations are determined through New York State Office of Children and Family Services. So we just get the allocation that's allotted to Monroe County.
And so it appears that there are some organizations who were able to receive funding previously, not on the list this year. So my follow-up question through the chair would be whether the county youth board was involved in allocation of funds.
The County Youth Board was not included in the RFP in the selection.
Final question. I know that these are state funds that pass through the oversight and checking on what they say in their application, the service that done through the county or at the state level.
That will be occurring through the county level. So most recently, and I thank you for last year's budget, we built a whole new unit under DHS, which includes contract management, data analysis, as well as a human services planner. So we've just started to staff up that division, and we'll be doing deeper dives, both qualitatively and quantitatively, regarding our contract monitoring, meaning that we will have staff that will be visiting some of the sites, getting information and feedback from the youth, as well as we monitor the contract dollars.
Follow-up question through the chair, just to make sure I understand that. Is that function that the Youth Bureau separate?
It will, absolutely. The unit I'm referring to is embedded through Department of Human Services, so it will oversee all of our divisions, including the Youth Bureau.
Very good. And are there any other questions? Mr. Blankley?
Thank you, Mr. Question through you to the administration. Thank you for sharing a little bit about the requirements placed on this funding via OCFS. I'm wondering if you could provide a little bit more detail around what those requirements are to secure this funding.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, legislator, could you repeat the question?
Certainly, I'd be happy to. I'm curious, you've already referred to a couple of constraints placed on the work via OCFS. I'm curious if you could provide just a little bit more comprehensive detail around what the relationship with OCFS is and what constraints are put on so that we can secure these funds.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I will have to get back to you around how OCFS itself selects the funding. I know typically my old experience used to be by like sometimes census tract. It depends year by year. I know it takes a little bit of time for us to get that funding because they have to approve it. They have to look at our annual Child and Family Services plan. But I can definitely reach out to the state and get that follow-up for you.
I would greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
And are there any other questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. And opposed, the same? Seeing none, passed.
Referral 22-0329, amend Resolution 93 of 2021 as amended by Resolutions 4, 104, and 232 of 2022, Emergency Rental Assistance Program, Monroe County Eviction Prevention Pilot Initiative 2.0 to extend the time period.
Motion by legislator Dondorfer, seconded by legislator Keller. Do we have questions on this item? Legislator Dondorfer.
Chairman, to the administration, why is this extension necessary?
Through you, Mr. Chair, due to unexpended funds.
And through you, a follow-up question on that, Mr. Chairman, to the administration, how much funding is left in the program?
Mr. Chairman, in our ERAP 1 program, the available unencumbered balance is just over $690,000. U.S. Treasury originally had a September 30th expiration date of these funds. When we received reallocation awards previously 3 times, the U.S. Treasury allowed us to extend the spending deadline through December 31st. We need this legislature's authorization to actually expend those through our budget.
Thank you. Through the chair to the administration, are there organizations that failed to extend the resources provided by this program? Or is this just an additional amount of funding that was available?
Mr. Chairman, I don't think anyone in the Department of Human Services would categorize this as a failure on the part of any one or more entities. Simply the time it takes to review applications through, I believe it's eviction court, and get those applications processed through our partners and payments made.
I understand. Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. And opposed, the same? Carried. Are there any other matters to come before this committee? Hearing none. There being no other matters, the September 28th, 2022 meeting of the Human Services Committee stands adjourned. The next meeting of the Human Services Committee will be held on Tuesday, October 25th, 2022 at 5 p.m.